Have you ever looked at yourself and thought, why am I still like this? You promise yourself that things are going to be different this time. You'll wake up earlier, you'll stop wasting time, you'll finally become disciplined, you'll get your life together. And for a little while, you actually believe it. Then somehow, you're back in the same place, scrolling when you said you wouldn't, putting things off again, choosing comfort when you promised yourself you'd choose growth. And suddenly, you're not just disappointed in what you did, you're disappointed in who you think you are. That's when things can get really heavy, because one mistake becomes, I'm never going to change. One bad week becomes, I'm hopeless. And one moment of giving up becomes, maybe this is just who I am. Eventually, it stops feeling like you're fighting a bad habit. It starts feeling like you're fighting yourself, and that battle can become exhausting. Maybe that's why you don't feel motivated anymore. Maybe you're not even chasing success at this point. Maybe you just want the pressure to stop, the pressure to improve, the pressure to catch up, the pressure to finally become the person you keep promising yourself you'll be. Sometimes you don't want to disappear from your life. You just want a break from constantly feeling disappointed by yourself. And if you've ever felt that way, there's something I want you to understand. You may not be lazy. You may be emotionally exhausted from constantly being at war with yourself. Because when every attempt to change ends with another disappointment, your brain can slowly start learning something dangerous. Trying hurts. You try, you fail. You feel ashamed. You promise to try harder. You fail again. And eventually, your brain starts protecting you from the pain of trying at all. So you procrastinate, you avoid, you distract yourself. You stop setting goals because it's easier to expect nothing than to hope for something and disappoint yourself again. From the outside, it can look like laziness, but underneath it, there may be a person who still cares deeply, who just doesn't trust themselves anymore. And that's an important difference. Because if you don't trust yourself to follow through, every new promise starts feeling meaningless. I'll start tomorrow. You've said it before, so why should your brain believe you this time? This is why sometimes the first thing you need to rebuild isn't your discipline, it's your trust in yourself. And you don't rebuild that trust by making bigger promises. You rebuild it by keeping smaller ones. Instead of saying, I'm going to completely change my life, try, today I'll do one thing that makes tomorrow a little easier. That's it. Get out of bed. Take a shower, reply to the message you've been avoiding, work for 10 minutes, clean one small part of your room. It might not feel impressive, but that's not the point. The point is showing yourself, I said I would do this, and I did. That's how self-trust begins to come back, one small promise at a time. But there's another reason this can be so difficult. We live in a world that constantly tells us to optimize ourselves. Wake up earlier, work harder, be more productive, build better habits, improve yourself every single day. And after hearing that for long enough, it's easy to start believing that your value depends on how much you're accomplishing. But you're a human being, not a machine that needs to perform perfectly every day. Some days, growth looks like achieving something you've been working toward. Other days, growth looks like getting through a difficult morning without giving up on yourself. Both matter. You don't have to earn the right to be proud of yourself by becoming perfect first. And resting doesn't make you weak.
Sometimes your body and mind are tired because you've been carrying more than you realize. The problem isn't always that you're doing too little. Sometimes you're demanding too much from yourself while giving yourself almost no compassion in return. Think about how you talk to yourself when you fail. Would you speak to someone you love that way? Would you tell them they're pathetic because they had a bad week? Would you tell them one mistake proves they'll never change? Probably not. So why does your own pain suddenly make you deserve less kindness? You can hold yourself accountable without hating yourself. You can admit that you need to change without believing that you're broken. And you can want more from your life without being ashamed of the person you are right now. Because self-hatred might give you a temporary burst of motivation, but it rarely gives you a healthy place to grow from. If every attempt to improve begins with, I hate who I am, then even success can become another way to prove that you're finally worthy. And that's an exhausting way to live. Real change can begin from somewhere else. Not, I need to fix myself because I'm not good enough, but I care about myself enough to build a better life. That's a completely different reason to grow. And maybe you don't need to transform your entire life this week. Maybe you just need to protect the smallest part of you that still wants to try. Because if that part of you is still here, then the story isn't over. You can have another bad day. You can lose motivation. You can fall back into an old habit. You can mess up the thing you promised yourself you would finally get right. And tomorrow, you can begin again. Not because you failed to become a new person, but because you're learning how to become someone you can trust. So if you're disappointed in yourself right now, don't immediately turn that disappointment into hatred. Pause. Ask yourself, am I actually failing at life? Or am I just exhausted from expecting myself to change overnight? Maybe you've been measuring your progress by how far you still have to go, instead of noticing how many times you've already tried to move forward. Maybe you don't need another harsh speech. Maybe you need a little honesty, a little patience, and one small promise you can actually keep. Because the goal isn't to become a perfect version of yourself. It's to slowly become someone who doesn't have to hate themselves in order to keep going. And maybe that's where real change begins. Not when you finally become the person you always wanted to be, but when you stop abandoning yourself every time you fall short. You still have time. You really do. You haven't missed your only chance. Your life isn't ruined because you're not where you thought you'd be by now. You can start again. And this time, you don't have to drag yourself forward with shame. You can move forward with compassion. One day, one choice, one small promise at a time. Because you don't need to become a completely different person to deserve a better life. You just need to stop believing that the person you are right now is beyond saving.